Welcome to Expedition Self on Om Times Radio with lifelong learner, entrepreneur, and creator of the worlds of Expedition Self, Sam Parado. Sam shares 4 decades of studying, guiding, and teaching how to go inside so we can build an incredibly powerful, dynamic, and validating relationship with the self. Expedition Self is laced with stellar, unexpected insights about what it means to be human. Listen now and ignite your self-development process with Sam Parado.
Well, hello and good evening and welcome to Expedition Self. And I'm Sam Parado and live this evening. So glad to be here. It's 8 p.m. Tuesday nights are my live time. And tonight I'm super excited because I get to interview my friend and teacher and mentor and creative inspiration, Nick Kellet. And he actually is, always in some other place in the world. And I feel like thanks to technology, I get to luck out and actually have him live with us to talk about his journey in growth and development, and also a little bit about how he stays a yes every day. I'm sure we'll get there. So anyway, welcome, Nick. I'm so glad you're here.
Yay!
So will you tell everyone a little bit about, just to kick us off, like your travels in the last year while you've been out and about having growth experiences in the world?
Yeah, I've basically been a digital nomad roughly since September, and that's included, Spain, Italy, India, Thailand, Turkey, England, Ireland, Scotland.
Where were you when the earthquake hit? Where were you?
Where was that? What?
Where were you when the earthquake hit?
Oh, Marrakesh. How can you forget that?
Yeah.
I was on the 3rd floor of a restaurant bar in Marrakesh, which actually was the most well-built bar. I didn't flinch, but it did wobble. That was pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine like having some cool evening experience. The next thing you know, that the whole building is wobbling. And of course, it was a very big earthquake that hit that city.
It was a 7 something, right? So
yeah, it was big.
And that really was a kind of near-death experience. Like I could have been 50, 100 meters in different directions and could have had walls and things falling on top of me. And at the time, you just kind of breezed through it. And it was a bit of a bombshell for me, actually, for the next 10 days after that. It was just like, whoa. That was unexpected and felt very subdued after that. Just kind of... The actual city we were in didn't get hit that badly, although day by day after the event, we saw more and more things begin to fall down. And it was like, oh, that wall's gone. Oh, look at that. They're propping that up. And they were literally propping things up.
Wow. Now, did you ever feel like the building you were in felt insecure, like afterwards? Like, did you have a sense of insecurity?
Well, I've experienced 2 pretty big earthquakes in my life. One was in a few years ago, and I was in Greece, in Athens, with my daughters and my sister, and I was on the 7th floor of a hotel, and the hotel started, but it was a well-built hotel, and there was a pool on the roof, and literally there were ripples on the pool. The water was like splashing out of the pool.
Wow.
And that was pretty scary and I actually didn't feel remotely phased. I just stayed put, didn't rush off the roof, waited for it to calm. I thought this is probably the safest place to be, on top. I'd rather be on top than underneath. And and the same thing again. I was on the 3rd floor of a much less constructed building in Marrakesh, and it literally was wobbling. The whole building was like jelly.
Wow. Wow. Well, I was in the earthquake in 71 in California, and what I recall is I was not on a third floor or seventh floor, but on my main floor, my bed went bouncing across the floor. And I just remember the walls felt like they were waves, like water waves,
Yeah,
and they just
totally.
rolled back and forth. I don't know. I thought it was a very unsettling experience.
It was. It was.
Yeah.
And then I felt strangely bulletproof in the moment that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then after, like, that was really stupid. Like, we wandered down the streets. I mean, we stayed not for long, waited for it to settle, and then we left the building.
Mm-hmm.
But then walked down all these little alleyways where really, the rooftop could have fallen down into the alleyway. And some alleys got closed off. It was, yeah.
Wow. I'm thinking about all the experiences you've had. I mean, we're talking about a very big one, but in actuality, I'm starting really in the here and now of your life, but in actuality, you've always been an adventurer. And when we went to choose the gift for today, we chose the skateboarder, and it's because I remember seeing a picture of you in England as a young person. I think you were a teen, and you were like, there was a skateboarding thing that I recall, right? And so
Yeah.
one of the things I just want to say about you, and that one of the things I really appreciate about who you are, is that you are always up for an adventure. And really, you don't get that. This is not an area you get scared. Is the area of actually traveling, being out in the world, being on the top of a hill, being at the bottom of a gully, or in the middle of a waterway on a kayak when a storm rolls in. Like, there's just a quality about you that you're up for the adventure. Do you
I
relate to yourself
too.
that way?
I mean, I do broadly think that is true, but this year to go to be a digital nomad, like, my first 3 months, I was crushed. Like, I put so much time and effort, energy into launching a product, and then I was just emotionally drained. And then I was meant to be traveling the world, and I just didn't have I had nothing left to give, and it took I spent a couple of months at least at my girlfriend's, kind of like just not even realizing just what bad shape I was in, but put my pieces back together, and then I headed off, and I ended up going to Thailand from there. But it was such a big effort. Like, I didn't want to go, and now I'm like I feel like I've forgotten all about that. And just where next? Come on! Like, and I've got about 3 or 4 months to go, and I'm like, choose wisely. Go somewhere different. You don't want to go there. You've been there before. Like, you get empowered.
Well, that's actually what I'm very interested in, is because I think a lot of us, right? We imagine having some big adventure like that, but the actual doing of it seems, right, like it would be really unsettling, like to pick up our roots and just move around and move around. So I guess I feel like it's one of those really unusual things about you that you've been able to do that.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm really good at jumping off cliffs, metaphorically. Halfway down, I'm like, get me out of here, I'm bored. Or I'm either bored, because I commit to some project because it's not as exciting, so I have a tendency to quit things, I guess. Because I find a new shiny object. Oh, here's a new cliff. Let's jump off there instead. And that's how I don't actually consciously quit the old thing. I just get drawn to the new thing and quit in the process. So I've noticed that a lot and spent more time staying put. My girlfriend would I think would verify that I've done a better job of staying put and being more grounded and not just going for that. I'm in discomfort, quick, replace, insert something new and exciting. That'll take away the distraction and the pain, right?
Well, that actually was one of the things I hoped that you would talk a little bit about is how you made your way to like a more conscious and intended growth conversation. Because my sense is that your adventurous nature was in place, but the challenge was to actually develop a relationship with that emotional aspect of the self, which, to me, when I think about emotions, it's about sitting in them and wallowing in them and taking a bath in them, And so I was hoping you might be able to just talk a little bit about how you came to see that.
I'm more of an emotional shower guy. I'm in and out in 10 seconds.
I know.
There's no long hot bath. Let me wallow. Oh, it's cold in here. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. No, I'm in and out.
But there was a point where you really started to see emotions as an important, I feel like this, an important, essential element of your growth.
Yeah, but I think I always thought I was fairly stable, but then you begin to realize that no, it's not the world that's moving around you; it's you moving in the world, and we're often not as stable as we feel, and just so I am vulnerable. I do get knocked around by life, and I think the earlier, younger me didn't notice that I was being, shaken up and beaten by these experiences. I was kind of just pretty bulletproof, high energy, just throw yourself at it, next, and keep going. Mm-hmm. And, when you can't keep doing that at my grand age, you kind of, I'm not 30 or 20 anymore. And so that takes a toll on you. So you need to just be graceful and accepting of that. Mm-hmm. But,
well, what do you think were some of the moments in your earlier days that you thought to yourself, I'm not sticking, like when you said, I don't stick around for the long bath. Were there some moments where, as you were making your way to where you are now, where you can say what you're saying right now, where they grabbed a hold of you and you said, wow, this is outside of what I have been comfortable with?
Yeah, I think I have been very quick to quit things. Like, this is uncomfortable, get me out of here. And as I was describing, I don't noticeably, I find something new and exciting to get excited about, and that's how I leave. Mm-hmm. And I didn't fully know that was a pattern, but it is. And so I now slow down to notice it. Oh, look, you're being attracted to this new shiny thing. You haven't really packed your bags up and finished off this stuff yet. Why don't you just hang around and see, maybe that's why you're feeling the way you're feeling, right? So,
so take me back a decade or two, into the spaces before you figured this out.
Right. Well, basically, I've worked for myself since I was 23. I'm now 60. So I haven't had very many responsible I don't view those as responsible moments of just basically being my own boss. I did work for a big software company at the end of that for a little bit, but it was always under my own steam, my own show, my own rules, and where was I going with that? But I've always, worked for myself in that, and therefore driven by my own sound in my head of where I'm going. I bring this back to a values thing. Is that you mentioned at the beginning, adventure. Adventure is definitely one of my top values. Creativity is a value, and integrity is a value. So I don't want to leave anything in a mess behind me. I'll try and clean up. I'll try not to create a mess in the first place, but if I do, I'll try and clean up. Mm-hmm. But if I don't create something, I go stir crazy. and it could just be a photograph. It could be writing a blog post. It could be creating a product. But I've got to do something every day. Otherwise, I feel like I'm actually denying my soul, my inner truth, my real being, to the chance to express myself. So I try and fuel that, and that's also part of the adventure thing. Adventure is the way I fuel it. So I like living this last year. I've always been supplying something new to keep me entertained. I guess I have. I mean, I have a long attention and the ability to follow things through, but I also do get bored.
Yeah. Well, now, when you say I like moments when I don't create, it's not good for me. So what emotions show up in that space for you when you're not able to create?
Well, it's a lack, right? So what happens is the thing just fills up. And so that's when my bath fills up of of lack. And then I get antsy and angry or frustrated, but I don't know quite why. Mm-hmm. It's like if I create, there is a release valve that lets out all that gas and air and creative energy. Otherwise, it turns into anger and frustration and control and lack.
So my word with that would be like you feel some emptiness, like you're in a nothing space. Is that kind of what it is?
Yeah. And I don't think I understood that. So now that I do, I such pressure to create something every day. Like, I'm feeding my Instagram page. It feels like I'm the zookeeper. Like I've got to keep feeding it new content. And that means me sitting in front of a blank page, create. Mm-hmm. What are you going to create? Mm-hmm. And then I go into the creative turmoil of, that's crap. Oh, you've done that before. Like that inner dialogue can be pretty rough inside there, right? And
can I just say something about that? Because one of the things that I find is it's all well and good when I feel like creating, like it's just there and I have an idea and I want to do it. But what I run into, and we've talked about this before, is that if I'm not feeling it, then I just don't do it. So then the consistency that goes along with trying to create something in the external world is diminished because I don't actually feel like sitting in front of that screen coming up with some creative thing that I haven't done before. So for you, when I think you really push yourself in that space and say, no, I'm going to show up.
And there are two sets of approaches to this. There's a lot of people like, well, I'm just waiting for the energy and the magic to show up. I'm waiting for a download.
That's me. That would be me.
And sometimes you just dive in and give the download some encouragement. Like, I'm cleaning the room for you. There's space here. You can come down now. I don't believe in standing still to wait for that to arrive. I'll just start building it, and then I'm very welcoming it and encouraging to say, hey, creative muse, you can come and join in now. I've started, right? And I know that if I let days go by where I don't create like that, I can literally go back and notice where I haven't posted anything on Instagram is a correlation. There is a correlation to depression or on sadness. I don't notice it in myself, because I probably bury those feelings. But if I look and go, oh my God, you haven't done anything for, which is a symbol to the world saying, look, Nick, you haven't done anything you think is interesting enough, right? And the problem is you feel that inside of you that
you're not interesting.
And you just like have something to say. And then I love the idea of not knowing what I'm going to say next.
Yeah.
scared.
I like that part too.
Yeah.
I think that extemporaneous thing where you give yourself permission to shock yourself and be surprised by your own internal
Right.
process, right? I think that
Right.
part is exciting, and there's a mystery that gets revealed in that.
Can I tell you? I don't know if I told you this, but I did a post the other day, and it was all about the art of asking and Amanda Palmer.
Uh-huh.
And so I basically have this thing where I say what you really need to do in any situation is have a small, medium, and large ask ready in your back pocket for anything you go to. And then if you meet someone there and they're really into what you're doing, bring out your large ask, right? Mm-hmm. But if everything goes well, maybe bring out a small one. Anyway, I made this video. It was pretty cool. I thought it was funny, but I always think my stuff is cool, and then it lands, and I'm like, oh, maybe not. Anyway, Amanda Palmer shared the post as a story on her feed, and like I got 7,500 views from that. It's just like, okay, yeah, that was fun.
I'm sure that was very validating. Listen, I want to go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
No, I said it was fun. It was a rush. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Listen, I want to just take a little left turn. We have to break in about 5 or 6 minutes, but you mentioned the self-talk that you do with yourself when you don't like something or you're not creating. Yeah. And can you draw a correlation between where that self-talk came from in terms of your childhood and your youth and how you work with it now?
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I had some very critical parents, and so nothing was ever good enough. And I was also sent to silence by my mom. That was her tool of choice.
Will you say that again? I'm not sure everyone would have gotten that. What you were sent to silence?
If something didn't go the way, if we didn't meet expectations, communication was withdrawn. So I would be sent to silence for sometimes a day, sometimes a week. You just didn't know. It wasn't a clear thing. And so, and it was like the puppy dog, can I come in now? And you never knew, right? And it just carried on. And so I got used to that, and I ended up, I don't know how true this is. The story I tell myself from that is that's kind of why I'm creative, because in that moment I went inside my head and created a whole bunch of stuff. So I didn't have the lack of what was missing. I wasn't punished. In my head, I just thought it was funny, and okay, we'll just go inside then. We'll just go create because no one's going to talk to us. So that was one part of it. But my dad had a super and funny bad temper. Like, he was very hot-headed, and I had two sisters, and we were competed with. We were never actually united as a team. He was like, why can't you do this? Your sister did that. That was, comparison is the thief of joy. We were compared to our siblings and made to feel like we didn't do as good a job as they did. We were never praised for, anything I don't remember being praised. And you just, so that you carry on. That voice inside me is like, I don't need them to be around anymore. They're both passed now, my parents. But I do a pretty darn good job of keeping them alive in my head every day. There's a lot of critique. But the thing I'm blessed by is it doesn't grind me to a halt. I just keep going.
Well, the thing is you've created a mechanism to keep it from doing that, which is to actually keep pushing yourself to create. So you don't really give it a home or a resting place, really, because you're moving out of it. I do want to say that I remember for myself, I was probably 23 or something when I actually realized that the words I associated with my stepfather were actually the same words that were running in my own head. And I remember it being such a shock. Like it just blew me away, and I didn't really understand any of the growth concepts or anything like that at that point. I was a real newbie into like, how do you go inside of yourself? And I couldn't even believe it. Like, it just seemed like somebody just invented, the modern automobile or something. Like, it blew my mind. So when you said that, it struck me that, was there a point where you remember saying, oh my gosh, I'm treating myself the way my father did?
Yeah. And it's funny because it becomes so just you. And I try, and now I'm really careful with the words I pick. Like, I was so into using words like, and they're very macho words like fight, battle, chase, challenge, right? And because I had so much energy, I could afford to chase, fight, challenge, all that stuff, right? And as you age, I'm like, okay, we don't need to do this fighting anymore. It's kind of tiring. So now it's much more fun to use words like dance and play. And you're like, I'm going to dance with a challenge. It's going to dance and play back with me, right? It's like, instead of fighting my way through something, which is pure energy drain, I'm more like, okay, how's this going to work then? How's this going to move forward? How are we going to do that? Mm-hmm. Not just, being a kind of tank hitting an obstacle and just, boom, boom, pounding it. That was what I used to do.
At some level, really, that's the dynamic that gets set up inside of many of our relationships as young people, right? We actually are wired to try to, what's the word I want to say? Expand on having our own power. And in order to do that, we perceive that what comes with it is some kind of a oppositional battle, right? So listen, Nick, we're at break time. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we're going to hear some more about Nick's journey.
Awesome.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
If I could be you,
and you could be me, for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
All right, we are back. I'm Sam Parado and your host for Expedition Self. Tonight we are talking to Nick Kellet. And so, Nick, are you back? Are you here?
I am here.
All right, awesome. Before we kind of make a little bit of a right turn, is there anything else you wanted to add from anything we were talking about earlier that just you didn't get a chance to like close the loop on, or anything that's on your, on the tip of your tongue?
No, I'm good. I think, I don't know. No, I'm good.
You're good? Well, so what I would like to talk about now is how you think about relationship and how that's changed over your life. This concept of being in relationship. And you can kind of go anywhere you like, but I'm interested in your words about it.
Right. I remember the first time we spoke and you told me we were in relationship and everything was relationship, and I was like, whoa, what's this? But it's taken a long time. But to get to the point where I kind of totally agree. I've come to that same perspective that everyone that you're working with you're in relationship, and you can. When you realize that, you're actually cultivating something with everyone, right? And what you turn up with, how you play with those people, the words you use, the energies, everything transforms how they play with you, right? And they think of you more. You have to. Everything's a choice, right? And we only have all got so much energy, and how we spend it is based on how we feel about the people around us, right? So I do think, like, it's funny, like I was talking about values before, and I've done this kind of values sort where you basically go through a whole card deck of values, and I knew the answer to what are my top values, which I was integrity, creativity, and adventure. And we ran into a kind of headlong challenge with my girlfriend Renee, who was like, she had her values, and one of them was definitely relationship. And I was like, well, it's not that it's not important to me, and we definitely clashed about that. And I had basically gone back and recognized I was wrong. Relationship is on my
values.
It's on my values list, right? Because I was like, okay, no, I don't want to break this. We're doing great stuff. She's such a good, such a patient. She kind of works through everything, and we chat through everything, and we have storms, and then we work through those storms, right? And she's really helped me in the process of not putting my boots on and getting out the door and running, right? And just staying put.
And don't you think that's actually, I had a situation last week. I was in an interaction, and the person said something that just, like, I could barely be with. And I almost was out the door, right? Like, there's this way when you start working in the concept of, I'm going to put intention into being in relationship, and I'm going to bring myself to it. You start noticing how much you don't want to, right? Like how much half of your body is out the window, right? Because something got said or something got interacted about.
Yeah, totally. And it's so, and the problem is, if everyone else is somewhere on their own journey to do this stuff or not, right? And you end up being in relationship with people that don't give a damn about this stuff, and you're in relationship with people who do, and they're on their journey, and somewhere they may be skilled from a level 1 to a level 10 or whatever. You can choose not to interact with those people and not give them time and energy, but you don't always get to choose all of that. Because I think some things you can't, and so you're basically dealt a hand and you get to play it, and you can nurture the people around you to be more mindful of what they're doing. I think it takes time, and they have to do it for their own good, not because you want them to. And I don't know. Yeah, it's just when you think of everything as a relationship, then it's easy to recognize. One of the best things that I've learned is that in any given situation, it's very easy to admit that at least 3% of the blame is yours. Right? And if you can get someone to admit 3%, then you can go, well, if you're at 3%, maybe you can get to 7, maybe to 10. We're often more to blame for more of the things that we create or fail to create than we give credit to.
Well, know where I am. I think we're 100% responsible. So, we've had this discussion because to me, part of the key to being in relationship is to be able to get that my 100% is my 100% and you have your 100% and they're both at play, right? There's a dynamic that gets created in there.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I find about when we're talking about when you get that you're in relationship with everyone, is that you start realizing that you're blowing people off because you've decided they don't matter in some way. And I feel like part of what the world is dealing with right now is a whole lot of separating out, you matter, you don't matter, and that this idea of relationship is no, everything I can choose a lot of the time, right, where I put my energy, but it doesn't mean I have to leave behind me this idea that someone was discarded because they didn't matter in the way that I was with them.
Yeah, and you can, you could make someone's day by saying something nice to them, or you could get angry with them, and you have that's in your choice, right?
Yeah.
You can bring energy and positivity to people, or not.
Right.
And likewise, do that to you, even though that you might be completely aware of this situation, but people do impact you.
For sure.
Right? And
that we really do, right? That we are, no matter what you think life is all about, how much doing and all of that, at the end of the day, what really actually makes a life work are those relational connections.
Right. Definitely. And it's just the little things that people do that you didn't ask for, or it's like, oh wow, that's.
I have a question, and I feel like you and I are different in this way. I get very frustrated when I'm spending a lot of time with people that don't care about how they're showing up in a relationship. And I feel like I'm probably less tolerant than you are about that. Now, what do you think, Nick?
Yeah, no, you definitely prioritize and choose around that, and I appreciate that more. It's. I mean, I speak to like hundreds of people in a given, time, and I don't know. Yeah, I have a very kind of optimistic mindset.
Yeah.
I see people as positive, and it's theirs to shred that perception. And therefore, if people continually shred that, then you basically devalue those people, and you think, I'm not going to invest my energy because this person always takes, not gives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating the energy that people bring, and some people just have a naturally generous disposition, and some people just. The thing I've put it down to is some people have an abundance mindset, and therefore they don't meter what they're doing because they just always believe there's more. And there are other people, and those are the people I like to have a relationship with less, is the people who have a stingy mindset. They don't believe there's more, and so they're guarding what they're giving because that's all they've got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there are two sets of those people: the ones at the lower end of the scale that are less influential, and then the people at the right at the top who can be very stingy,
mm-hmm.
because they've reached fame, power, and status. Right? I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting how you put that, because I do think that when you can come through life with this idea of having abundance, which means you have something to give, or you're wanting to give of yourself, that it does create this kind of juju, right, that comes back to you.
It totally does.
I do think, though, the lack thing is a very... people have a lot of experience in that, right? They have a lot of history, a lot of scenarios, a lot of situations. And so it's hard to unseat that, really, if you're somebody who is working with it, right?
I was going to. That was my question. Would be I would love to find an answer to how to help people get out of their lack position.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's an answer to that. I mean, the shortest, simplest answer is just don't invest in those people. Find enough people with abundance. But you
can't always do that, though. Like we said, right? There's some people in our world that's where they come from.
Right. And also, if you actually choose to reject them, you're validating their minimalistic mindset, right? That their lack of abundance is reflected in. But it's very hard because they're constantly not being generous in their time and effort and energy. So,
right. The thing about this, I don't know about you, is I have my own places that I work on my own stinginess, right? It's just, I mean, that's the thing about the inner landscape, right? Is that you can always find a pocket that matches up to what somebody else is mirroring back to us.
Yeah. Oh, and my God.
That's the thing I love, right? Is that other people reflect something for us that we don't, like in this case, we don't like lack so much. Then we get to go inside and see the places where we're having the lack. And then it turned out that person was really helpful in us owning something that normally we would kind of push to the side, right?
Totally. Because I think, what we hate in others, we hate in ourselves, right? So when we actually have a strong opinion about something like that, the first thing you should be asking yourself is, what is it about me that I hate in that? And what am I not seeing, right? And this person, as you said, their job was to, not knowingly probably, but, was to help you shine a light on that. You can ignore that and you'll just get another lesson, another chance to resolve that. Somebody else will shine a light on that for you.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. That's true. You okay over there? So I wanted to, I know that you have started Deckable in the last couple of years, but there was this period in between, like your last creation and then looking for the next thing that you could get excited about. And I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about what it took of you to keep looking.
Ooh, great question. I think, along the way, I've definitely realized that, that I'm not stable and I go up and down. And in that process, I learned one of the best things to give me the power to stay positive and stay up is curiosity. So, the most healthiest people, the people who live longest and live happiest, are basically curious to the last day. And that's a pretty rare thing as you move into your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the number of people around you who are curious is reducing, heavily. So it's a wonderful gift to be able to hold on to that. And I think that's something that's I've appreciated because at different places along the way I've become that when I've been crushed by things and I've lost that.
Yeah.
So now I work pretty darn hard to keep my curiosity, and curiosity is fueled by the idea of wanting to create something as well, right? So I just think things show up if you keep curious, right? There's always a book to read, or a blog post to listen to read, or a podcast to get into, right? There's always some new product, angle, spin, slant to just grow your mind.
Well, there's also so much brilliance in the world, and now it's accessible, right? It's all at your fingertips. And so you're right, that there is so much to be curious about, some angle that someone does. I found somebody recently that did something called quantum memoir, and I can't remember her name, but she draws these circles and then she asks these interesting questions and then she makes these artistic fonts, and it's all this introspective process that she goes through. And I'm like, wow, there's thousands of these kinds of people out there, right? Including yourself, that are constantly rethinking and creating out of what they're curious about.
Right. Oh, I'm just looking at quantum memoir.
Yeah, have you seen that? Have you seen her work?
No, it's stunning. I love it. Oh my God.
It's amazing. And it's
Yeah.
really simple. And she lives on a farm, and she just draws these things, and she talks about it. I mean, it's really cool.
She needs to be undeckable. Holy crap! That stuff is amazing.
I thought
we'll be reaching out to her straight after this.
Well, see what I mean, though?
That's a perfect example of curiosity. You could have told me that, and I could have gone, "Oh yeah," right?
Right.
The curious person jumps in, and maybe they note it down so they don't forget it, or goes and looks at it, and follows them. Yeah. That's how you stay curious, is by always adding something new to your just anything. I mean, there's always more to be added.
Well, and actually, I feel like this is what gets lost with all the social media conversation because of the bots and, the abuse of it and the falseness that gets put out there. But the part that's really cool is it aids in actually allowing you to be more curious. Like, I'll follow somebody and then I'll look at all the people that comment, and I follow them too, because I figure that there are people that are going to be providing something interesting as well. Now, I will tell you, then I get myself overwhelmed because it becomes too much for me. Then I have to slow down and don't do as much. But I do think this has been the big gift of social media all along, is that we get access to not only you in this moment, but all the people you are curious about.
Yeah, totally. And oh my God, take me back to 2009 Twitter. 2011. I mean, people don't understand how freaking amazing that was, right?
Oh, it was so amazing.
Everyone's busy slagging off Elon. I'm a big fan, but I don't think he does everything right. But I'm so glad it's in his hands and not some other maniac. Yeah, but that curiosity thing because that's what that was a massive enabler for curiosity back in the day. It's become so bot-centric. The whole of social media is so bot-centric. I hate it.
I do too. I get so disappointed, and of course I hunt around now for authentic, real people that are, trying to actually put their thoughts out in a way that's real. But they're harder to find for sure now. So listen, I want to make sure I give you a chance to share a little bit about Deckable and what you've created and what it's been like for you in this last 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, basically, Deckable is in the world, there's 100,000 unique card decks, from Oracle and Tarot to business and strategy, the whole range of them. And we've basically got a community of 1,000 creators already on Deckable. So these are artists and people bringing their decks to the platform. We've got 600 decks on Deckable, and it just keeps growing. And it's just a phenomenal personal growth medium, because you draw cards to set your intention, set affirmation, do card sorts like those values card sorts I was mentioning. You do all this on your phone, and you can journal and meditate and reflect. It's an amazing medium for that. And it just gets better because we keep adding more and more decks to it and more of a community. But it's probably been the biggest, hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. By far. I set off to say I was just going to get 100 decks, and it nearly killed me. People were trying to get people to join a platform. I've probably had, I've lost track, but multiple thousand Zoom calls now with all sorts of people, and I actually think all those people will join in time. Many of them have joined, and it just comes down to this abundance. People dive in and trust, or they don't, and it's a totally personal choice. And we're all early adopters of some things and late adopters of others. And people don't fully realize that, because it's not something they do for a living. It's to study, human adoption behavior.
Which you've done a lot of. I want to just make this point. Your whole life really has been spent studying human adoption behavior, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, I invent things for a living, so I'm used to people going, "What?" I love it. I love it when people say to me 2 years later, "Hey, remember that thing that you showed me? I didn't get it at the time, but wow, it's really cool. I get it now." I was like, "Good job I didn't listen to your feedback first time round, otherwise I'd have stopped." And I've got used to that, and I'm cool with that. I'm used to blank expressions. I actually quite enjoy it because it's like, okay, how can I learn from this? Whatever I'm saying isn't connecting with this person. How can we improve that?
Yeah.
It's such a fun journey, and we're just reaching out to more and more artists who are beginning to get what this is all about. Because there is not a cool way for artists to make a living.
Yeah.
If you're an actual artist and you want to make a living, the best options we've got for you now are Society 6, print your T-shirt, and Etsy if you want to make stuff by hand, and that won't scale very well, right? So, and they get paid a pittance. And Spotify is not the greatest for musicians. They get, they don't get paid a lot. And we've created something that's got a real way for artists to make. I mean, we pay out 42.5% to artists from the selling price of the deck. Mm-hmm. That's phenomenal.
Well, I think the other thing is I think decks have gotten very in demand over the last 5 to 10 years.
Oh my God.
I remember in the 80s, finding a cool deck was like the biggest thing. And now I go into, some of the bookstores that I frequent and, there's 45 decks to choose from. And so the idea that you're able to capitalize on the interest level, right, of the decks and why people love to pull a card. And of course, all your posts that you talk about creating all the time, you get to put words on that for people and try to articulate the emotional draw for them. It's really quite a big thing, right?
I honestly, I don't call it work, but technically my job is speaking to cool artists all day long to bring them to the platform. And it's just amazing to hang out with cool creative people and hear about their ideas and their projects and see their excitement and help them on their path,
Yeah. Well, and along the way you get to collect more and more of the nuances of how people think about being human.
Right. I get to make new friends who are cool artists who live all around the world. So yeah.
So,
it's
Nick,
my current retirement.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So finish what you were going to say.
I said that was my cunning retirement plan, to know cool artists all around the world. Yeah.
Well, it fits you. So, as a last thought, could you just share some advice to anybody who has been wanting to go on an adventure, even a small one, and has felt like, oh, I can't do it for this reason, or I can't do it for that reason? Like they want to take the risk, but they haven't done it. Can you share a thought about that?
Just break it down. Do something small right now. Do it today. Doing something that you can do today, and then do it again tomorrow, and do it a little bit more, and you basically need to build up muscle. You have not lifted your, adventure muscle out of the box for a long time. It's going to be, resistant and slow to move. So give it some encouragement and give it attention and keep working it.
That's awesome.
I did exactly. I found this trip really hard, and I thought it'd be really easy. And now I'm like, crushing it. But I say that somewhat sarcastically, and it's very funny. But it's fun to notice and have the energy for that and recognize what it takes. And I mean, that's literally what I did, was bit by bit build myself up and go for it. But that's what anyone has to do.
Well, it's been an awesome journey, and for all of those of you who are listening, go check out Deckable. Nick is on Instagram, and where else are you, Nick, so people can go look at what you're doing?
So deckable.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. Where am I not? I'm on TikTok. I am on TikTok. I'm not saying I'm rocking TikTok, but I definitely have a go at it.
Well, the part that I just really want to say is that to me, when you can have somebody like you that they can reach out and will talk back on social media, it makes it more personalized, it makes it more humanistic, and it makes it have a reward. And so, you did that for me when I first got online, because I came in after 2009. I was on the 2010 train. And,
Right.
it was like having a smile and an open set of arms to greet me when I made my way into the virtual world. I love you for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, that's the whole topic of 1990, right? That's the 1% rule.
That's right. That's right.
That's another show. Yeah.
I think so. Well, thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate you calling in from across the world at this hour.
Awesome. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to share just before we close out?
No, it's beautiful. It's great to chat to you. It's exciting. Love to hear your voice and catch up and share stories.
Yeah. Fun to talk about life. All right, Nick, take care. Talk to you soon.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.